was wondering if I could record this telephone call.
That's just fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I went over your website this morning.
My webmaster deserted me a couple of years ago, so you have to go to the forum to see the latest information.
Okay. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to specifically interview you about your upcoming prediction and how you. I saw.
Turn it on. Let's go.
Okay, sir. It's on. It's ready to go.
Good.
If you can just state your name very clearly.
I'm Jim Berkland, a registered geologist and a fellow in the Geological Society of America for 50 years.
For 50 years?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm 80 now, and I taught universities on the East and West Coast. I worked with the U.S. Geological Survey for 6 years, 5 years with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, and I became the county geologist, the first one in Northern California, at Santa Clara County, where I reigned from 1973 till 94 when I retired.
Wow.
And I found out about 3 months after I became the county geologist that the earthquakes around the Bay Area were occurring at the time of new or full moon. And I started making predictions, and I've been hitting about 80% correct since then.
Okay, now the prediction that you have just recently made about the, I suppose it's March 19th or March 20th.
26th, March 19th to 26th is a seismic window.
Okay, seismic window.
The 19th is the critical date, but often there's a little lag time for the quakes.
Okay.
However, that was not true with the big quake in Indian Ocean in 2004, the day after Christmas.
Yes.
Was the big quake and the tsunami were on the day of the full moon. And the previous great tsunami and quake of over 9 magnitude was the Alaskan quake on March 27 of 1964, which also was on the day of the full moon. And I predicted that there would be a World Series quake in the week of October 14th to 21st of 1989. I named it the World Series quake. 4 days later it hit.
That's what a lot of people are worried about.
Of course. And I'm one of those. I predicted the quake, and I was in the 7th floor of the county building when it hit. And of some 82 quakes that I felt in my life, that's the only one that ever scared me.
Okay, now I noticed by your telephone number you're in Sonoma County.
Yes, Valley of the Moon, which is the most appropriate for somebody studying the moon.
Okay. And in your prediction, do you think it'll be Northern California or Southern California?
More likely Southern, but there's maybe a higher potential for the Cascadia Trench in the northwest of Washington, Oregon, especially since most of the action's been over on the west side of the Pacific Ring of Fire, and now it's been pretty quiet here. And I think this may be a likely time for some real jolt.
Do you think there's any danger of any Earth movements or major Earth movements near the Yellowstone area?
Oh, yes. It's always there. I've been there about 3 times, and the last time was 3 years ago, and boy, the output of gas was the greatest I'd encountered, and then right after they closed down a section of the park because there was fumes and heated ground.
Okay, now, what do you think would be the telltale signs that a quake of that magnitude, by the way, what will the magnitude be, in your opinion?
Well, I do know there's an average of 1 major quake a month. There are about 15 per year. Last year there were 23, which is a very, very high number of major quakes, and so it started off in a major way this year also. So I think it'll continue. For the 89, I alerted people on my newsletters that in October there was going to be a major quake between the 14th and 21st of October. I expected, I said, around the Ring of Fire, a major 7+. And then it was only about 3 weeks earlier that I realized that we were the ones in the Bay Area that were under the gun because they had a record number of missing pets. We had whales beaching themselves, homing pigeon getting lost, hot springs cooling down and slowing down, and there were a number of phenomena similar to what happened before 1906 in the which I predicted. So you have to pay attention not only to tidal forces from the sun and moon, but to what animals are doing. And we've been hearing in Southern California about the massive fish kill. About 1 million fish died from lack of oxygen. And last December there was the earthquake, what's it called, oarfish washed up alive on the beach at Long Beach.
Right.
Or I guess Malibu, at Malibu. And this is a very rare event, and the same kind of fish was swept up near Japan. And the Japanese have long called this the earthquake fish. And they always think this is bad news when they see it. Well, not only that, but I'm just reading about a party boat watching for whales.
Yes.
There were some 80 sperm whales, the most ever seen off the California coast, all collected in one gam near San Diego. And so we got the oarfish, and we had all these Redondo Beach dead fish. And then down in Acapulco, there were thousands of fish that came up on the beach there. So these rare events often mean something, especially when they tend to occur around the same time. So it looks like Southern California may well be under the gun for a large earthquake. So we're going to hear about, there was a coyote came in and bit somebody near Los Angeles. And those are the kinds of things you look for. So the tidal forces tell me when, but do not tell me where or how big. So for those other factors, you look for such things as a change in the eruption cycle at Old Faithful. Just as we have an Old Faithful here in California, about 20 miles from me, and it also slows down its eruption cycle prior to Northern California quakes.
Now,
those are some of the things you look for, and I've written the book about me is called The Man Who Predicts Earthquakes, Jim Berkland, the Maverick Geologist. You can get a copy of that pretty inexpensively, written by Cal Orey. Picture of me on the front cover showing me standing by the fissure in a fissure related to the World Series quake.
Now, Mr. Berkland, I'd like to ask you, with your prediction, do you think it'll be an inland earthquake, or do you think it'll be out in the ocean?
More likely inland.
And why do you say that?
Because we don't have any active faults much offshore, any great distance, and California is dominated by strike-slip faults of the San Andreas, for example, and which it's impossible to get a tsunami from a strike-slip fault, because a tsunami requires up and down motion on the seafloor.
Okay.
And the San Andreas is well inland.
And what kind of damage do you think will that type of earthquake do? Do you think it'll be a catastrophic or a cataclysmic event, or just something that would be considered moderate?
I need more information than I have right now. I'd say at least a 5 magnitude and probably a 6. But as to a 7 or 8, there's insufficient information for me. I'm a geologist, engineering geologist, and not a seismologist or a geophysicist. But that's fortunate for me, because had I been involved in those fields, I would have not been able to think outside the box.
Right.
So my experience now, I realize that there's an awful lot of information that nature tells us that you won't find in a mathematical formula.
I noticed on your website you said that professionally that you were ridiculed by your assessments and your predictions and such.
They wanted to fire me. I was suspended as county geologist for 2.5 months. They couldn't find a reason to fire me, so they said, "Come back to work if you promise you won't predict any more quakes on county time." So I managed to meet that by starting a newsletter and writing it on my time. Oh, we got the phone just going crazy. Okay, so and I'm waiting for a call from a group of TV people from New Zealand.
Okay. Well, sir, I thank you very much for at least granting me at least 10 minutes of your time. I certainly appreciate it. And in the case...
Look at that book about me. Look at that book about me. The Man Who Predicts Earthquakes, Jim Berkland, Maverick Geologist. You can get it for about $15, I think.
Okay. And I did want to also ask you, are you going to be in the the state of California during the 19th through the 26th?
Oh yes, oh yes. I've never fled an earthquake or my prediction of an earthquake. I was right there in the center of the World Series quake. Yeah.
Is there any advice that you could give to somebody?
In Pittsburgh, not to worry.
Not to worry.
No, not for Pittsburgh.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Berkland. I certainly appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You have a good day.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.